It's the Jeremy Hazelwood Show. What's good, what's good? Let's get ready to go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Jeremy Hazelwood Show. This podcast is all about exploring a wide range of topics that spark curiosity, build community, inspire action, and deepen our understanding of the world around us. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe now on whatever platform you're seeing or hearing this by smashing the follow or subscribe button. Music has the power to inspire, heal, unite, and transform culture. In Season 4, we're diving into the world of music and the people. Hello and welcome to the Jeremy Hazelwood Show. This podcast is all about exploring a wide range of topics that spark curiosity, build community, inspire action, and deepen our understanding of the world around us. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe now on whatever platform you're seeing or hearing this by smashing that follow or subscribe button. Music has the power to heal, unite, inspire, and transform culture. In Season 4, we're diving into the world of music and the people bold enough to chase creative dreams. Whether they're on stage, behind the scenes, or in the boardroom, these guests are building culture, creating impact, and showing us what it means to turn passion into purpose. Today's guest is an entertainment attorney with more than 30 years of experience. He's a partner at his own firm, serves as a law professor at Georgia State University, has been selected to Super Lawyers, an exclusive list of top-rated attorneys in their specific area of practice. He specializes in entertainment, sports, intellectual property, and business and corporate law. Welcome to the show, Scott Keniley.
Hey, Jeremy. How you doing, buddy?
Hey,
well,
I'm good.
everybody.
Hey, glad to have you on today. Looking forward to getting some insight of the music biz straight from one of the people who is actually helping to shape it and write the contracts and review those contracts. Let's get started with pre-attorney Scott Keniley. When and what made you attracted to the music and entertainment business to start with?
Accident.
Okay.
It was a complete accident. No, I kind of had a feeling young age I wanted to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I had a neighbor that moved in, ended up being a mentor of mine. He moved in next to us, I guess he was 11 years old, and he was a federal public defender in East St. Louis in that southern Illinois district.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his wife didn't have any kids, and I was 11 and still impressionable and became his friend and just started being interested in his job. And he's actually how I became a Sooner. And he introduced me to Sooners football back when I was young and started watching that on Saturdays. And he's the one that took me to see University of Oklahoma to see if I wanted to go to school there.
Nice.
And so that's how I became a lawyer. But no, I was doing, just civil work and some criminal work because I got a job out of law school in North Georgia in Chattanooga, a law firm based out of Knoxville, but they had an office in Chattanooga.
Okay.
And they had me take the Georgia bar
Mm-hmm.
because Chattanooga's right on the line there. So they wanted a lawyer who can cross the line. And they did all civil work. Being a lawyer in that North Georgia area, I was required to be on the court appointment list. So I did a lot of criminal work because I had to.
Okay.
But actually, I liked it a lot. It was kind of my dessert. It was kind of one of those things where you could pound your hand on the table and demand constitutional rights, and it was fun. But I did that for years with them, and then I moved to Atlanta and joined forces at a firm with a lawyer that I met studying for the bar.
Oh wow!
And just doing, quite frankly, Jeremy, we took whatever came in our door.
Yeah.
We were just somehow we'd learn how to do different stuff. And I got a client who had a real shady client, and he had one of those modeling agencies that they'd convince everybody they were the next star, and the person would pay him money. And it was just a shady guy, but he referred a rapper to me, and the rapper was upset with his record company and came to me, and I said, dude, I don't do entertainment work. And he goes, well, evidently neither does my entertainment lawyer.
That's funny.
And I'm like, wow, interesting. And so they signed off on a waiver, and I just really took a corporate case against this record company and just learned as I went, reading books and started attending some conferences and trying to meet some people. And I beat up on that record company and got my client paid. And then he sent all of his producers to me.
Wow.
right after that, and I went after the same record company
Oh
with
my
the
goodness.
same with the
I know they were
producers.
tired of seeing you.
Right. So I just kind of, said, I'm back again over
Yep.
those exact same albums
Oh my
with
goodness.
my new client base of all the producers.
Right, right.
And as a hip hop artist, they paid out pretty quickly after that. And then they kept sending their friends to me, and I started studying more, learning more. And then my next client I got a business relationship with Mike Tyson. And so it just
Oh wow.
kind of grew from there. And then 1999, I got approached by a record company, Platinum Entertainment, at the time was publicly traded, and they were arguably the largest independent record company and distributor in the world. And they came and hired me to work as business and legal affairs over there for them. And
Okay.
yeah,
So you worked for the label at that time, or you still had your practice?
No, I became in-house counsel. They negotiated for me to drop my clients.
Yeah. Wow. That's
in-house.
crazy, man. So yeah, it's really interesting because when I think of entertainment law, your story is really interesting because I would think a lot of people who got into entertainment law, they may have wanted to be in the entertainment business somehow. Maybe they were a failed artist or a producer or something else, or maybe they didn't want to be in the spotlight but still wanted to have connection in the industry. But it sounds like for you, like you said, it just kind of your career just kind of migrated towards that case just from an artist reaching out to you, and that started to generate more clients for you, and you're where you are today. So really found your niche. But I know that's not all you do, but that's still a majority of the work that you do, and I'll get into other career stuff later. One of the things that connected us when we first met many years ago was that we did both go to the University of Oklahoma and ended up in Atlanta. So naturally, that was something with us that we bonded on really quick here. So it's interesting to hear your story, how you got to Atlanta, because I was going to ask that. Cool. So you got the law degree in Oklahoma City University?
Oh, Oklahoma City University, yeah.
Okay. And then your first job, legal job, was the one in Chattanooga. Is that correct? Or the one in North Georgia? Okay.
That's correct. As a graduate, part of the reason I went to Oklahoma City University instead of OU was my friend that was my neighbor in Illinois, Southern Illinois, that was a lawyer. He took the job as the head of the Federal Public Defender's Office in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
So I was able to get a job as a law student, or even sometimes I'd work there as an undergrad at OU, but I worked there as a law student, so it was close to my school, and I could work up there.
Yeah. Man, so tell me about this Mike Tyson piece. How did that even come about? Like, how did Mike Tyson even find out who you were? And if you can say, like, the kind of work that you did on the legal side.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. That was kind of strange that I knew this guy here in town, and he some kind of sold investments or one of those stockbroker guys or something. But he had some kind of relationship with Mike Tyson's inner circle type of thing.
Yeah.
I think he might have leased cars to him. I'm not sure
Okay.
what it was, but he introduced them to me, and Mike did several different little contracts done here and there.
Okay.
This kind of stuff. But we were just all kind of dancing around, and it really kind of came down to when Mike was doing a plea deal out in Tyson's Corner out there with our car accident type of thing. And I'm like,
Okay.
I don't know if I think that's a very good idea. I always thought he should fight that.
Yeah.
I really, in my heart of hearts, just know that Mike was completely innocent of those charges out there. And I'm like, I really think this is one that needs to be fought. And he pled guilty, and the plea deal didn't go well, and they got to talk to me afterwards. But I didn't do any of his fight deals or anything like that. I just did some business deals, some contracts here and there. Right, like something simple, like I did like a Stevie Wonder performance deal. For them to have for a party type of thing. And
nice.
I had a few other things that I did for him then too. So
okay. Yeah, and I'm curious to know also beyond Mike Tyson. I know at one point you were friends with Lisa Left Eye, so I was curious to know how that came about and the kind of work that you assisted her with.
I didn't do much work for her. Actually, I didn't do any work for her.
Really? Okay.
I became her friend, and that was again just kind of meeting these people, and just Lisa said she wants to meet you, and like yeah, sure, and we just got to know each other, and on a very social level, and she had a lawyer, and she she had Joel Katz's firm, which was very powerful, and I thought she was in really good hands. So I wasn't really pushing a whole lot to get that. If she wanted to drop Joel and hire me or something like that, I certain at the time I would have taken
Yeah.
that client.
May have been more affordable than Joel at the time. I'm just saying.
Right. But no, we just kind of became friends, and
Yeah.
yeah, we got a couple social engagements we got together on, and it was fun.
Yeah.
She's really nice.
Yeah. When we look at like the landscape of entertainment law and the different things that you do, because a lot of people think it's only recording agreements, and naturally it extends beyond that. What kind of entertainment law cases do you enjoy the most?
I enjoy everything when it's positive.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that, I'll kind of roll into what I mean by that.
Sure.
That in my previous type of practice, everything was deal with a problem. Somebody's getting divorced, somebody's getting arrested,
Right.
somebody's in a car accident, whatever. That was kind of when we were just kind of taking everything in.
Yeah.
But I really like the concept of with artists. Yeah, granted, it started with me still got a record company. It was all kind of a big negative type of thing. But then started doing some deals for people, and then my God, everybody's excited. There's money being exchanged. There's a new start. There's a record deal. There's a producer relationship. There's a new management relationship, and everybody's happy. The deal gets signed. Handshakes going on. I really enjoyed that side of it, and I didn't really know much about music, and I probably still don't. But I liked that side of it, and I liked learning more and going out and talking about it, and trying to teach people to not get into the negative situation. You know, how can I form them enough that they don't walk into that trap?
Yeah.
I know you want to do this deal with this manager, and they seem cool, and they might know a few people, but do your research, due diligence, and know who you're getting in bed with on this, and keep it all positive.
Yeah, and that actually brings up a good point about attorneys. You all don't just review contracts, but there's other kind of these silent roles that attorneys play in the music industry, and almost from a networking perspective, or being able to know some of the players and maybe who would be a good manager, for an example. So talk a little bit about maybe some of these other silent roles that an attorney plays in the industry.
Yeah, there's silent roles that attorneys play, and there's silent roles that attorneys shouldn't be playing. Yeah, attorneys sometimes can get involved in trying to move their clients, to somebody that they know. Like, I know this manager, or I've represented this manager. You should consider this manager, but it's kind of a conflict of interest there, and so you gotta be careful on those kind of things. But no, there are certain situations that you can meet an artist and you can say, "You sure about your manager?" Your producer. A lot of times there's handfuls of producers out there, and granted, I think, especially in hip hop industry, I think producers are basically the hero that doesn't get the recognition they deserve.
Yeah,
because it's kind of like they're the band.
Yeah, they're creating the sound.
Right. So if you want to say like something like a rock band, you want to say like Van Halen. Well, if you put that over to the hip hop industry, wouldn't you be just saying David Lee Roth? You wouldn't even be mentioning his band, which is Eddie Van Halen and this stuff here. They're providing all the musical side to the whole thing. So true. I was kind of feel like that producers in the hip hop industry specifically, or maybe pop industry as well, that they should be featured artists. So they can get a deal as a featured artist type of thing. And sometimes putting producers together with people, or introducing people to studios, and those studios can introduce them to producers. And so I kind of like, see a little bit of that, but I try to stay out of the conflict side. It's akin to referencing your friend for a job at your company.
Right.
If something goes wrong, does it fall on you?
Yeah.
And so
you're like, I don't want to own that. So it's better to divide some of those things up. But even I've seen attorneys connect artists with record labels that they might have a relationship with.
Yeah, I've been involved on that side, even representing some of them, but they're all generally what I call sub-imprint labels.
Sure.
You got your big boys at the top, your Sony, Universal. You got that kind of side of it. Warner Brothers up there. But then it's all the sub-imprints. So below that, but they got major sub-imprint, like an Atlantic is a major sub to a major. It's like
right. Yeah.
And then you got things get signed below that, like Bad Boy Records type of thing, and then down the road from there. But even these people who have huge connections can't get a deal for everybody. They still have to go in and shop the deal. And so shopping is kind of the term that often gets equated to this, like, do you shop deals? And early stages, I'm like, yeah. Like when I first got it, it's like, yeah, I'll go see if I can get you a record deal, this kind of stuff here. But when it really comes down to it, that's just not how it works. I mean, because you're maybe introducing some people to some stuff or trying to get the relationship with A&R to come in there and like something, but that A&R still has to sell it to his boss on this year. But if you take everything to them, every client that comes in your door, because you've got these relationships, but you'll have probably more clients coming in the door than you have relationships and labels. And you take everything in, then all of a sudden, that's Keniley calling.
Right, exactly. He's
another artist
shopping someone else to us. Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden, you don't have any credibility to the whole thing. And so I always kind of felt like it came down to numbers where somebody would get their ass fired if they didn't take something in. They had numbers. In today's world, it's easy to say streaming numbers, followers, how many people are following them, and then you can kind of roll to tour stuff. But in the old days, it was how many albums were they selling on their own, and what are their tour numbers? They can always get their earnings from their tour and kind of turn those things in. But if you kind of take those in and you're just like talking to an A&R, I get this teenage band, and I'm not going to say whether they're good music or not good music, but they've been on the Horde Festival for 2 years. They're selling out all the shows they're doing them privately, and they're selling all their albums that they have manufactured. Right. I don't know whether it's good music or bad music. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to mention the band, but I'm thinking one in particular that it was a teenage band that I remember listening to. Some people over Tree Sounds over there with some producers, some people over Tree Sounds. Like, what do you think of this? And we're playing it, and they're all like, seriously? I'm like, seriously. And they're like, this is horrible. These kids, they can't play their instruments. Right. And they go this whole thing. And I'm like, then I rattle off their data. They're like, how are they doing that?
It's crazy.
And I'm like, I go, they are just really good at marketing themselves. And they were able to brand themselves. And and I got a couple deals for them by pitching that whole thing. I actually got an advance from CSAC.
Yeah, okay.
And they dished out money on it and got them a record deal. Wow. But inside, I'm like going, I've never played this for anybody with real ears that thought they were any good.
But that's the business side of it. It's not whether you like it or not. It's what do the numbers say. And that takes less risk for the record labels to say, okay, well, they've got data. We may not even like it, but we know they have something here. So if we can just invest some money and amplify them more, it's ready to go, as opposed to taking someone unproven, has no numbers, no shows, no nothing, and trying to put that out. There's a bigger risk. And I would imagine too, in those kinds of situations, as an artist, you're probably not getting as favorable of a record deal with no numbers at all versus coming into the door, because you have a little bit of leverage, I would think. Yeah.
It's all about leverage is the key word there.
Yep.
And it always, you ever see a movie, Get 'Em to the Greek?
No. Well, I've heard of. I haven't seen it though. No.
It's got that guy Russell Brand in there, and he's like,
yes, I know. Okay, I know that movie. I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Watch the whole movie. The whole movie is really good. It's funny, but just the beginning of it reminds me of kind of what this conversation is about, where they got the room full of all the A&Rs, and then he's like, "Oh, I need some answers. We got to have a release. Somebody tell me something good." And you got these guys in the room. They're all got to play it, and you got this hard hip hop song back there. And you got the white A&R guys that are like.
Getting into it.
Right. I always think about them, these guys got to, and I think it goes back maybe 20 years now, but you've got to prove some data to just secure your job. Because if you're going to go on your ear saying, trust me, this is the next big thing. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's not the next big thing, and your butt's on the firing line.
Exactly. You're looking for the next job.
All right.
When it comes to contracts, whether an artist or producer, what are some specific things that you think they should pay attention to when it comes to recording agreements?
First of all, term and what ignites a second term. It could be that in old album days, it was easy. Deliver an album is accepted, and 9 months after that, your second album period starts. But nowadays, people are delivering singles. They're delivering songs that they're just putting out there to see if they can grab some traction. And I always argue that if this traction song gets so many streams that it becomes a deliverable song, so you got to kind of get in that world and argue those things. And the sunset clause, I think, is something that really gets abused kind of in there.
And explain what that is too for the listener.
Term of years after the album and what they're still kind of gaining on. Yeah, but a lot of it goes with the 360 deal. So do they get to keep earning, after the album cycle on that? But that's not as much, so to speak, really in management contracts more than recording deals.
Okay.
But what constitutes an album, what constitutes a song, what constitutes delivery, and because they always use the term capital D, delivery, because it's a defined term in there that has to be delivered on such a date, such songs, that has to be approved by the record company.
Okay.
And so if it's not accepted and approved by the record company, then it's not a deliverable.
Yeah.
And so it kind of downs on that. The royalty structure, what is the royalty base? Everybody's like, well, so-and-so got like a 15-point royalty or 20-point royalty.
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean they get 20% of every album sold. That you've got different things that go in there that, first of all, your producers get taken out of that.
Right. Yep.
That's the first dip that gets taken out of it. And then you've got other kind of factors that kind of roll into foreign deductions. And there used to be a bad one that are called packaging deductions. It's not so much in play today with streaming, that they take 20% off just for a packaging cost.
Oh, they were doing that with streaming also?
No, they're not doing it with streaming.
But they were, though, you're saying.
They started the beginning of it where it was all kind of built into it. But there is no packaging deductions. And there's always another one called free goods, which that was always a scam. And it's just trying to come up with how to have a clean number on what the royalty calculation is. Because quite frankly, you can't reduce it to a penny rate, and neither can I. I mean, it's hard to take that and reduce it to a penny rate.
Yeah.
And that penny rate is what's important to make a determination of recoupment versus repayment. And there's like the old saying that you don't receive another penny from the record company until the record company gets repaid everything they put into it. But that's kind of true and kind of not true. It's that you don't receive another penny till the record company is repaid by you at your royalty rate. So if they factor in that you're making 30 cents an album, 20 cents an album, whatever, it's 20 cents recoupment from every album sold. And then that 20% gets tacked to the $1 million that they got spent on the whole deal.
Okay.
Just let's put it at $1.
I know. I'm like, walk me through this. So let's say it's $1 for every dollar. Well, you're saying 20 cents an album off of a 15.
All right, let's say $1 an album, just for easy math.
Okay.
If the record company has $1 million in expenditures into it, that you will pay, and you get $1 an album, which is massively high.
I was going to say that's higher. So for the listener,
high,
you most likely will not make $1 an album, but just for the sake of this,
right?
Yeah.
You have to sell 1 million albums to pay that $1 million back.
Right.
And the 1 million albums is platinum, and not many artists go platinum.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
The record company, on the other hand, could be making substantially more than $1 an album.
Yes.
From their side of it.
Yeah.
And so they honestly are repaid maybe at 200,000 albums sold.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. They can be repaid, but you still have to pay them back at your royalty rate.
But that's after the artist, from their dollar that they get, they're paying their producers, probably not studio time, because that would have been part of the advance, right?
Advance,
or they also, so that'd be in the advance.
But the money for the advance is part of the repayment. So
Right. But the label is not paying the producers, though, right? That's coming from the artists.
Right.
Or does it depend on how the contract is structured?
There'll be a letter of direction from the artist to the record company to pay the producer, but it comes, it's what they call an all-in deal. That producer payment is built into that.
Got you. So you sell 1 million records at the label advances you, let's say $1 million, and your rate is very high rate. You're getting $1 per album. You basically have to sell 1 million albums to pay back your advance. And in addition to, you're also paying your producers, which is why the artist, and you always hear this, so I don't know to the general public, but in the industry, it's like you're not making a lot of money off of record sales. It's usually like touring or merch or something like that. But now, well, not necessarily right now, because this has been going on for a little while. That's where those 360 deals come into play with the labels, where they want a piece of everything. Whereas it didn't used to be that way, right? They didn't used to always take merch and licensing and all that stuff.
Actually, it was they were, and then they were, and then they were again. So back in like the early days, the 50s, like that, they used to do those label tours.
Okay.
Where they're artists and go on tour to county fairs and things like that, where they were basically just paid, and everything they earned from the tour stops to merch all came to the company. The company paid them back there.
Okay.
But then they turned it around, I think in 60s and 70s and 80s, and this kind of really kind of started pushing out. But then it was all the tour supported the album sales. That was the concept.
Right.
Going tour to support this new album. But then you're going out to buy a Led Zeppelin ticket for $25.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays you're buying a Taylor Swift ticket for $1,000.
Gosh, right, exactly.
So the tour today is just so valuable to the artist, and they still made a lot of money touring before, but they also made a lot of money on album sales. But when piracy came in,
that changed everything.
It gave the labels a really good reason to say, we want a piece of everything now because we don't have an incentive to invest in this product.
Right.
If people are just going to be stealing it.
Yeah, and it's actually a good segue into what I want to talk about next. You talked about the piracy. We think about Napster and how that was the last thing that significantly changed the music industry and just flipped it on its head. And now we have AI in the music business. And how is AI complicating the music industry landscape? And what are your thoughts on AI?
I call AI Napster 2.0.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
It may be really 2.0 on steroids, but it's 2.0. I was kind of like back to record companies on the concept of Napster and file sharing and people stealing music. And the interesting twist to it all, always in my mind, and I think people started catching on to it or artists started catching on to that, I don't really recoup anyway. So if I'm not recouping on my album, what difference does it make if people are stealing it? Because they're stealing it means they like my music. That means they'll come to my concerts.
Right.
And I can sell tickets. So really, what difference does it make? But I go back to the 80s when really the record companies, they let the genie out of the bottle. I mean, they created a mess on their own. You know why? Because they wanted to sell you the exact same album in a different format. You bought the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's on vinyl. Then the 8-track came out where you can't play an album in your car.
Right.
So the 8-track came out, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I could play this music in my car on my demand. And so you went and bought the 8-track for that same Sgt. Pepper's.
Same exact album. Yep.
And then the record company worked with technology and came up with the cassette tape. And now you had a smaller version of the same thing.
And you could rewind it because you couldn't rewind the 8-tracks, right? Didn't you just have to play it through? Yeah.
I'm not that old, but thanks.
No, that's what I remember. I vaguely, I remember when I was young, I remember 8-tracks, but I don't really remember how they worked.
Yeah. I don't really either. I don't think I played too many 8-tracks, but but you're right. You could rewind. And so you bought the same album for the third time.
Yeah.
And then the CD came. And the record company says, let's get them again. We're just selling the same Sgt. Pepper's album to the same dopey Scott Keniley guy. And so he can play it on disc in his car. Everybody went and bought it because everybody loved the new CD technique. But they digitized music.
Yep.
Once they digitized the music, the genie's out of the bottle, and some dopey, well, not dopey, I guess, the smart, nerdy people figured out I could save it to my computer and I could email it to my friend.
Right.
And people started sharing just the music around. Then, Sean Parker, Sean Fanning, they created this own little system. They share the music with themselves and their friends, and then they got everybody else involved in it. And they might have gone bankrupt, but we all listen to music the way they described us to listen to music.
Exactly. They changed the music forever. And I even think about, to go back to your CD example, let's say that Sgt. Pepper CD, and then they wait 10 years. It's the 10th anniversary of the CD, and we put a bonus song on here. So you're like, I got to get this CD. It's got the bonus song. And it's happening right now with vinyl too. And I'm a sucker for this because they're putting these vinyls back out, but then they'll put out the colored vinyl or the other vinyl, the alternate cover vinyl. And you're like, oh, why did they do this? And if you're a fan of an artist, you're like, all right, I guess I'm going to have 4 of the same album. And you're not going to listen to all 4 of them, but just for the collection, that's what you're going to do. And it's really taking advantage of the consumers. I'm taking advantage of, but I still am a part of the problem.
You're a collector.
I'm a collector. Yes.
Yeah.
But what is your take on AI? Because you have some interesting takes. We were talking off camera, and you said it might be counter to what other people are saying. So tell me your take on AI in music.
Well, the first one is a training concept. And again, go back to Napster real quickly. The record company sued Napster instead of trying to do what they're doing.
Right.
And now they're doing what they're doing. They, Spotify came in, but the record companies honestly could have been doing the Spotify approach on their own,
Yeah.
keeping all the money within themselves. But AI came out, and I was kind of on to AI early, playing around with Suno, and I really wasn't creating anything. I was putting in some very immature and basic prompts and coming up with a song, and I'm like, yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
And the songs are actually not bad.
Yeah.
But everything I was doing was just to be funny. And I'd make fun of Connor in songs like going, a song about my dopey kid and his dopey friends with their weird haircuts and thinking they're cool and they're not. but it was just doing that. But really, at that point in time, it wasn't sophisticated enough to do anything. And but all the lawsuits started, and as all of these lawsuits on, I being trained on all the music of the world, and I'm very respectful lawyers, my friends. I get on panels with some of these guys, and these are genuinely some of my favorite people.
Yeah.
They're huge music enthusiasts. I mean, one of them in particular, he's a real music genius. I mean, he knows all the artists, and he loves it so much. It's so deep in his heart, because he got an entertainment law, like you were saying, that it was something that was deep in his heart, and I got in there by accident.
Yeah.
But no, I just thought the training is no different than any other artist. Should every artist that's out here right now have to pay money to some earlier artist?
Yeah.
By saying, I was inspired by and I trained on your music as a kid, and then I trained on your music in middle school and high school band, and my band that I started up in high school, and we would practice your songs.
Yeah.
And, the Beatles, for example, they went and played strip clubs in Germany. And that was kind of what really they went there as some band from England, but there they had bands playing at strip club. Just sit there jamming on a stage in there, but they were playing American songs. So they're playing cover tunes all the time.
Yeah.
And they were playing like 10 hours a day. And they really went over there as like some band, and they practiced so much on other people's music.
Yeah.
They came back and they became the Beatles that time, because they now were accomplished musicians. But what's the difference between that and AI training on all the music in the world? Just AI is smarter.
That's a valid point. And I have heard that debate rather, of people saying exactly what you're saying. And I can kind of see both sides. One is like you're directly uploading a song and it's learning maybe the sounds, the chord progressions, the vocal tone on some of the artists. But if you think about maybe like a Nirvana or a Run DMC or whatever these artists are, the Beatles, who influenced, Jimi Hendrix, Outkast, like all these big artists who are then influencing the next generation. Like, I want a guitar that sounds like that, or I want a grungy sound that sounds like that, or I want a vocal tone or something to sound like that. Everything is inspiration. Like, I could come out with an album. I mean, I'd have to assemble the musicians, but if I wanted to come out with an album and say, hey, Nirvana was a huge influence, I can get a similar sound with some artists that really just practice hard. Now, I probably can't sing like Kurt Cobain and have that very distinct voice, but musically, the griminess of the drums, the guitars, and everything like that, I could say this is what I'm imitating in a sense, or I'm influenced by, which does seem like what AI is actually doing. Like but
isn't that what Nirvana did? Weren't they influenced into the grunge scene?
Yeah.
They were learning to sing songs about angst, and his voice is a little bit different. Maybe they changed the guitar sound on something a little bit. But isn't that pretty much all rock and roll? Isn't that all hip hop?
Yeah.
Isn't it all derived on something?
Right.
That they were hearing some last, and you talk to every artist, like, so who do you kind of sound like? Give me an example of what I'm listening for.
Right.
Oh, I don't sound like anybody.
Exactly.
My whole fresh
like you
new
sound like somebody.
Yeah. But you got something from somewhere. But otherwise, we would hear music. The next great rap song that comes out, we say there's never been anything like that ever. It is completely different. And you're not going to hear that. They're always similar and akin, because you've been influenced by the type of music that you like, and that's the type of music that you want to perform.
Yeah. And interestingly, and I don't know if you ever saw that interview with David Grohl talking about Smells Like Teen Spirit. I think he was talking to Pharrell, and he was saying that his drum pattern was from the Gap Band. He's like, I lifted it straight off the Gap Band. He's like that, doo, 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 doo. And if you listen, like, and it plays it, and you're just like, wow, like you wouldn't expect that, but it's these influences. And yes, AI can do that. I guess it's the other debate is, yes, it's training it, but whether you're a hip hop producer, rock producer, pop producer, like if you're a real producer, musician, like you're physically playing these instruments. Whereas now with AI, it's trained to where it's more than just being influenced by a computer's creating the music for you based on the influences that you wanted to pull out. And so it lowers the bar of one to get into the game to be called a producer, which really there's a big difference between a producer and a beat maker, but really like a beat maker, but you're not having to do anything but put in some prompts. And even with some of the AI tools out there, like you can manipulate some of the tracks or the stems a little bit. So I don't know, man. It's like, it's sticky. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but
let's bounce back to a little more of your era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did Pro Tools affect the industry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Changed a lot. No more reel to reel. Like I was part before Pro Tools, and I've got the 1/4-inch tape still, from early sessions when I did music, which is really cool to have that piece, but it certainly changed it a lot, the editing process and everything.
Right. But didn't Pro Tools kind of also allow for, and MIDI, didn't allow for the creation of music without actual musicians?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And basically they're giving instructions and putting in whatever information you want for how you want it to sound. And
true. Yeah, I don't need a flute player. I'll just pull up the flute sound, or I don't need an orchestra. Let me just play my keys that are doing the strings and the harps and the timpanis and things like that. So yeah, It's an interesting thing. Where are we at legally with AI right now? The rules are kind of being written, or are they not? Are we still trying to figure it out before the laws are being put in place?
Well, the cases really aren't going forward. They end up like all these settlements.
Okay.
Suno and Udio have settlements with Universal. 11 Labs had the settlement with Cobalt. And so some of these settlements are out there. This is where I get a little radical in the whole thing. This is the Keniley statement of, we're just creating another tax breaks for the rich, and the rich being the superstar artist.
Yeah.
That they're going to get paid on a lot of these licenses, but the songs that are being reproduced, you can't tell whose music was used in them. And because they can't tell, where do they pay the licensing music? So all the money Suno or Udio pays Universal, who do they pay it to? Do they keep it for themselves?
Yeah.
Who do they pay it to? Or do they just do a pro rata based on industry usage and pay those people, pay Taylor Swift over and over again?
Right.
We got more money in from Udio. Let's give you some more money.
Yeah.
Is my song used a lot? I don't know.
We don't know.
It
sounds a little bit like it. So here's some money.
Even if it doesn't sound like it, they can't tell because they're not really using samples so much in the music anymore. They're using more of a MIDI representation. AI has gotten smarter where it's not dancing in the world of, I'm just going to grab some samples and manipulate them a little bit.
Right.
And grab a guitar sound here, a note here, and then kind of create my own pattern with that guitar sound. Like you're talking about with the Nirvana guitar grunge sound.
Yep.
So it's not really doing that now. It's making its own thing. And there's so many billions of little opportunities in there for where it got its idea from that they can't pay anybody except for who they want to pay.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's like if they're not going to cut a check for every artist on their roster since the label has been up and running, there's not necessarily, seemingly not equity in how those payments will be made to the artists anyway. And I can imagine record labels being record labels, they're probably not going to pay a lot of that to the artists as it would be.
Yeah, I think it's just paying market share. And market share is who's the biggest, even though, let's say, the prompting person put in the prompts that they want for the song that they want, say, I do not want any Taylor Swift. I don't want any
right. Yeah, exactly.
Artists. I don't want anything to sound like any of these people. And it doesn't matter. That's just one person. But but also I think that the licenses are being structured in a way that really, other than who it's paying, it's also really not to the people who are going to be entering into the commercial space with AI generated songs.
Yeah.
Give an example. Do you know anybody that makes really good AI generated songs?
No, I know there's some AI artists that I've heard some songs, but because I know they're AI, I just kind of like, it just seems weird to me. But if I didn't know it was AI, I would probably say, oh, this sounds kind of nice.
I know a couple people are pros and use AI as a tool,
Mm-hmm.
and they are able to drop in their own beats
Mm-hmm.
into it and then give prompts, listen to it, drop the whole thing again with new prompts, and drop all of it with the new everything, and just keep on dropping it in and giving new prompts and direction what it wants to do
Yeah.
in each little segment of the songs and the bridges.
Okay.
They'll keep doing stuff, and it comes out where the song is pristine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're listening to it, you wouldn't be able to tell that it was an AI song.
Yeah.
And they spent a lot of work
Yeah.
in creating this whole thing. But my point is on these licenses, and I'm gonna give like the Cobalt 11 Labs. Yeah, you're probably getting some money for people who are going to pay a license or pay a subscription to do something like that, or 11 Labs and Cobalt paying a license fee. I guess 11 Labs paying a license fee to Cobalt while trying to figure out what they're going to do with the money. Why would some super pro that's planning on immersing his music into these streaming sites, why would they limit what they're going to create with only Cobalt songs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're not doing that.
Yeah.
If you're a person that's going to a site that's limiting where the music is being created from, you're an amateur. Your grandma's showing off to your grandkids. It's really, that's not where the big pros are going. The big pros they want access to all the world's music.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they're going to create something that's going to be unique and marvelous, they want everything.
Yeah. You know what I think will be interesting is how AI will be used less as a foundation in music and more like an instrument. So maybe you're a producer and you've got your drums laid, your guitars, your bass, but there's like a synth. You're like, I don't really know what this synth lead is going to be. So maybe like AI creates something and you're like, oh, this is great. So most of your song, I mean, it's like just bringing in a player, you know, someone who's a guitar player or something, and you're a producer and you're like, I have this idea, but I don't necessarily know what I want. So let's just jam out and create something for me, and you'll be a work for hire. And that's how I see AI also being used, which doesn't seem like right now. I mean, it may be happening in studios. I'm sure it is. It just seems like people are really doing all AI beats or nothing, as opposed to doing maybe a 90% handcrafted beat and weaving in some AI instruments on top.
Right. No, I agree. That's exactly how it's going to be used. There's some guy who won an art competition out in Colorado. He won the state art competition, but his submission was created by AI at his prompts with like 600 prompts to get what he wanted. Then he provided his own artwork over the top of it. So it was all kind of a combination type of deal. And it won the competition, but it was refused copyright.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're kind of like, that's the part I think is going to change.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to either, I'm going to give a radical second side of this. I think they're either going to start giving copyright to the owner who issued the prompts, or they're going to just eliminate copyright at all.
So you mean copywriting the actual prompts that were used?
Well, the whole artwork as a result of the prompts.
Okay. So it's all maybe one piece of whatever that piece of art is.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I want to shift the combo a little bit, and this seems like a good time to do it because talking about a physical product. And I want you to explain a little bit the difference between mechanical and performance royalties. Because it's so confusing. People say royalties, but they don't necessarily recognize what these are and why they're different.
Right. And I always like to talk to people about concept of the performance royalty and what gets paid and to whom it gets paid. And I always talk about, artists saying, well, I don't hardly get paid anything from Spotify. And my artist royalty with Spotify is so low. I'm going to go, what's your artist royalty for playing on AM, FM? Well, I'm sure it's more than that. Well, no, it's nothing. They pay nothing to the artists. They only pay songwriters for AM, FM radio, and that's their performance royalty.
Okay.
And so why are you upset about Spotify paying you something, even though it may be small, but it's more than what you're getting on AM, FM radio? And I say, well, let's make a twist to it. How much would you pay if you were allowed to pay, which you're not? How much would you pay program directors to put your music in the full rotation? Sometimes I would set it up where I'm doing that portion of it before I talk about what's actually paid.
Yeah.
Especially with the students, and they would say, well, somewhere like, oh, I'd pay $5,000. And a lot of them will laugh in the room. I'm like, $5,000?
Yeah.
That's not even going to get the program director to take your call. I get
Good old payola, man.
Right, payola. You can't do payola. So I said, but what if you could get it in rotation in your genre radio station throughout the country, throughout just the United States? What would you pay
Yeah.
to be in full rotation? And get people get down to millions. I pay millions. And I go, then why do you care how little you get paid?
Yeah.
Or a Spotify or being played on the radio? And so but I'm rolling into what the difference is. So the performance royalty is collected by performing rights organizations, which BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, you kind of know those. And, those are for non-interactive uses. So when you listen to AM, FM radio, that's what I refer to as terrestrial radio, that you don't choose what song the DJ's putting on. You just along for the ride to listen.
Yeah. If you're at a restaurant or something, right?
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Or the club.
Yeah.
Or the stadium. Yeah, we go to stadiums. They play a lot of music in there. That's all performance rights royalties. So you listen to Sandstorm or We Are the Champions, Queen. You listen to those being played in stadiums. You don't dial that up, and you're not entering something in your phone like play this now. It's like so it's not interactive. And the same thing applies for like Pandora, which I think was semi-interactive, but it was classified as because you really didn't choose all the songs. They just got to play stuff.
Yep.
And then also if you listen to just internet radio, which, Spotify has that now, where you go in there and say play 80s or whatever music, and that's all non-interactive. So those are performance rights organizations that will collect on that.
Yep.
But when you get interactive, like you're buying a physical product, it goes on what they call mechanical reproduction.
Yeah.
The mechanical reproduction is they're reproducing into a physical product. So you can kind of see what that is. So that's when mechanical royalty applies for all physical sales. But now we're in the world of streaming. So where does the mechanical kind of come into play?
Yeah.
And that comes into play on an interactive choice. So when you have Spotify,
I do. I'm more Apple Music though, but I do have Spotify.
But do you have playlist?
Of course, yes.
Yeah,
too many.
So the playlists are your interactive. So you're choosing, I want these songs.
Yeah.
I want to listen to them when I want to listen to them. I want to listen to them in the order that I want to listen to them.
Yeah.
So that's interactive, and that's mechanical.
Okay. Yeah, and that's good because for me, that's not necessarily my game anymore, but I know this season we're going to have a lot of artists listening to it. So this is great education and free legal advice from Scott Keniley. Thank you for breaking that down. I know we have a few more minutes left here, so I wanted to find out, what are you working on right now outside of your law practice?
My biggest project is for a virtual reality concert streaming company, and called Soundscape. So this is where I spend the majority of bulk of my time on. And they've done some really cool concerts in there, and they're doing a shift. They've got like a whole new launch they're going to be doing in the beginning of 27. A lot of it's still pretty secretive right now, but tell a little bit about what we've been doing that we've got. Like, for example, have you heard of Dead Mouse?
Yes.
Yeah, we did a Dead Mouse concert in Soundscape. It'd be cool for you to look up. I can send you links directly.
Yeah. We'll put the links in this episode. So if you're listening, the links will be in this episode for you to check out.
So like Soundscape and the Dead Mouse, and you go to YouTube and do Soundscape VR, the concert. But it's amazing. You're in this world that's 20, 30 miles wide, thousands of feet high. And if you're in virtual reality, I mean, you can fly around in there.
Wow.
You can, your avatar that you create can dance and shoot plasma guns and shoot fireworks and paint and do a lot of things. And the avatar is so complex that however creative you are, you can make it look exactly like you.
Wow.
And you adjust nose sizes, eye sizes, hair, eye color, everything. But they can run, they can fly. We kind of developed this, and the world is developed in Unreal Engine 5, which we were really kind of the first virtual reality company to be developed in Unreal Engine 5. And we won over at the Rotterdam, the VR awards, VR XR awards. We won Rising VR company in the world.
That's awesome, man. Congrats.
Yeah, it's
great.
It's super cool. And then we put it in this Dead Mouse one. And also it's a sound and light driven. So your music comes in. You can go there and listen to your own music too.
Wow.
And the AI will listen to the music and will transmit what the music's going to do to the world and to the even the avatar suits, and everything will react instantaneously.
Wow.
And instead of as a follower. And one other cool thing we did just for the Dead Mouse one, we did an 1,100 story tall Dead Mouse avatar in there that had motion capture. So the avatar did whatever Dead Mouse was doing in the screen.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it was
That's
super
crazy.
cool.
Wow. So it's a live event at the time, right? Like you can't just go into this world anytime in the Dead Mouse concert is there. This is something where it's in advance. Here's what time it's going to be, and everybody who has access to this platform takes it in at one time.
Not necessarily. No,
Okay.
I mean, that would just overload any system. Because the VR
true.
like that.
Yep.
So it's all recorded to rebroadcast.
Okay.
You can have things where you can go in there with your friends and have rooms and get in there and share the experience of your friend. And it is certainly capable of a live event, but it would be an overwhelming tech drain on the world.
You need another server. You'll need a data center for that.
Right. And we're doing more of a realistic. We want people to see the artist. Our founder, Eric Alexander, he's very music and artist friendly. And so he wants the artist to be seen. So that's why we put the artist kind of into the screen.
Gotcha.
So you kind of see what they're doing instead of having an avatar like when Fortnite did Travis Scott. It was It's a bunch of avatars. You don't really see Travis Scott. You see cartoons of Travis Scott, even though that. By the way, I thought that was amazing. Travis Scott hit a home run with that.
Yeah.
It's super cool, and we've just done a deal with PlayStation and Xbox, so we are confirmed developers for them, and
that's exciting. Yeah, probably the next time I have you on, we'll talk more about that on a future season that's dealing with technology and things like that.
Yeah, it's fun to work with because I'm writing contracts that are cutting edge instead of
kind of
you
same
can't really
same, huh?
You can't really cut and paste.
Yeah.
Contracts and Frankenstein contracts together when you're dealing with something that people just haven't done.
Right. It's like you're creating the industry as the industry is created. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
We've reached the time where we're going to pull from the clarity cards here.
All right, here we go.
All right. So your question, actually kind of in the vein of what we're talking about a little bit, is how do you nurture your creativity and innovation? How do you nurture your creativity and innovation? And I know you're an attorney, but you still have creativity and innovation, Scott. I believe in you.
Yeah, I really like to learn. I'm just kind of a study geek type person. I love going to conferences and listening to other people talking, and I like trying to stay on the cutting edge of what's going on. I like to go into VR. I like to see what AI is doing. I like to see what augmented reality is doing. The meta glasses. But no, I feel like just staying on top of everything and kind of researching it, but try to do it from a way of start with an open mind. Like if I would have done the AI we talked about earlier, then maybe I'd be a lemming and just kind of follow the crowd and say, "Oh my God, it's the end of the world. Let's stop AI now. Let's put it out of business." And my creative juices are flowing just from studying and researching all the new stuff that comes along. I love it. And I love talking to people that may not even work in my industry. They're talking about something, and I learn something from there, and I'm like, "Oh, well, what did they really mean by that?" And I go back and I jump on the computer and I'm doing some research
the deep dive.
But now I've got AI to.
They can tell you.
My AI even has a name. His name's Argon. And so
my
Argon
AI is called JI. I'm like Jeremy Intelligence.
Yeah. So.
Well, Scott Keniley, thank you for taking your time today and sharing some great advice and some great stories. What is the best way for people to follow or connect with you?
You can always find me at k5law.com, which is our firm's website. And there's information on there for phone numbers and emails, and try to reach out to me. But I always invite meeting new people and like to get out and socialize.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for the combo. And to the listener, thank you for tuning in to the Jeremy Hazelwood Show. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow or subscribe so you're always up to date when the latest episode drops. And until next time, keep following your dreams to find your purpose.